Good afternoon. This is RaRa-Rasputin, and today I want to talk about tiny wastelands. And the reason why I want to talk about tiny wastelands is I have a new in-person tabletop group consisting of, you guessed it, newbies, which I'm very excited about actually. The reason why I chose the Tiny Wastelands as their premier tabletop game is I asked them what kind of setting they wanted to do, and post-apocalyptic was the number one option. And as opposed to going in and doing 5th edition D&D or an OSR, I wanted to try a simple rules light system. I had great success with the Tiny D6 system with my niece and nephew, so I figured, hey, I want to see what this looks like with adult players. And I'm really looking forward to running Tiny Wastelands. I'll be taking in a lot of inspiration from a couple of my favorite media that I consume, and that would be Fallout and the Mad Max movies. In fact, I kind of watched the Mad Max movies a lot as a kid growing up. Maybe it somehow inadvertently led me to get a blue dog. I don't know. But I do like post-apocalyptic. It's a very hard genre to do with the tabletop, and I'm curious to see how this system handles it. One thing that really caught my eye with this is there's the Enclave system involved with Tiny Wastelands, which you have to buy additional Enclave cards. But how it operates, from my understanding so far, is your characters have their character sheet, and then they have a enclave or a settlement of some sort, and the DM draws a card for that settlement or enclave, and that will give a prompt like there's been a gas shortage, or Ugly Joe pops up to the west, and basically is cutting off trade routes, and the PCs have to go and figure out a way to either build an alliance with Ugly Joe or take him out. Who knows? But each card is different from my understanding. I don't have them yet, as I just ordered them last night, but I did want to explore that because I think that's a really neat system to have in a definitely in a post-apocalyptic role-play game. Um, I've seen it kind of done with Dungeons and Dragons with the Strongholds by Matt Corvell. Didn't necessarily check into it because I have no desire having a Stronghold in D&D, which I know is classic gameplay, but I do have a desire to see what my players do with their enclave or settlement. I don't know. I think it's a genre thing. You know, fantasy to me is big, action-packed, Lord of the Rings kind of thing. Always on an adventure or quest of some sort. Never really staying home and building. Whereas post-apocalyptic is rekindling community and society, and how how are players going to do that with this new threat of disease, drought, mutants, mutations, crazy weather patterns, you know, any kind of apocalyptic setting, insert what's going on. It could simply be what was left after an alien invasion happened, and you manage to be a survivor, and you find a group of survivors. I don't know. It gets post-apocalyptic games get my gears turning with how we kind of interact with each other. Kind of like a good example of The Walking Dead. Technically, it's a post-apocalyptic thing. Yeah, there's zombies. That's fine, but it's really not about the zombies. It's more about the human condition and how we overcome stuff, because we are tenacious in nature and we have a lot of moxie. But I want to go over the kind of a little preview. This is going to be partly for my players and partly for just my small number of fans. But I do want to say this: I'm still looking at getting 20 plus fans or 20 plus subs, and once I get that 20, I will basically do a death battle like 28 millimeter, and see who gets a tabletop role playing game that I have. Some I have extras of, and I'll be happy to get rid of them and make room for new games. But they will be used, so that's kind of cool. You can have a piece of RaRa-Rasputin gaming library at your own table or give it away. I don't care what you do with it. But I do want to throw that out there. If I get 20 subscribers, I will send a copy of one of my tabletop games that I have. Anyways, so as you can tell, this is a sick cover. Let's be real here. I think it's awesome. We got a society as we know it kind of collapsing with a ship right here. I don't know. It just makes you think about what Austin's going to look like in the next 20 to 30 years. That's kind of a joke, but that's currently where I live, and it feels crazy because stuff going on. But the survivors, they look cool. They don't look like, your traditional fantasy characters, which I kind of like. Of course, this is not a fantasy game, but it is a fantasy game. I do like, I really like this Fallout inspired NCR Ranger kind of guy. That's really cool. Man, when the pandemic first hit, that's what all I did was play um, Fallout 76. So this is going to be really kind of fun. Anyways, the game was written by Alan Barr. He owns Gallant Games, or Gallant Night Games, I apologize, which produces Tiny Wasteland, as well as Tiny Frontiers and Tiny Dungeon. And he has a lot. I think he literally owns the Tiny D6 system. No, he doesn't. Brandon McFadden does. Okay. And Smoking Salamander Games. That's cool. But what's cool about this PDF, and eventually when I get the hardcover, is about 40 something pages is going to be rules, and the rest are micro settings that kind of get the brain going. But I was really interested in seeing, well, how are they going to do? How are they going to do classes? Because when I think of post-apocalyptic, we're kind of just survivors, right? Well, he does have a archetype list, so we're just going to go here. Thing I like about Tiny D6 system is pretty much all your player character sheets can be done on an index card. I prefer having a full-length one so I know what each trait does, but that's just me as a player. As a game master, I'm going to have all these things, all their traits and everything, easily accessible with the PDF and Game Master screen that I purchased as well. But anyways, you select an archetype, you select 3 traits, you select a weapon proficiency and mastery, assign gear and credits, and assign drive. So we're going to go through this and kind of go with kind of take a deep dive. Okay, so let's get to it. Okay, so archetype list basically erases. You got your normal human beings. They start off with 6 hit points, and they get an additional trait, which is kind of cool. Traits are kind of like feats. A mutant, a little bit more beefier, and your trait is you can select up to 3 mutation traits instead of just 1. So I guess you can be pretty gnarly looking. That guy's kind of gnarly looking. He had like 3 arms, multiple eyes. I'm a big fan of that. That's cool. There's a scavenger, which is 7 hit points. They get a digger archetype, which they get advantage on scavenging tests. I'm gonna call this group of people the crows in my game, I think, or the buzzards. There's the OG survivor. This is Mad Max right here. This is what I think Mad Max is. Yeah, you're gonna be able to survive, find shelter, scavenge. That's gonna be cool. If I ever played, I would play a survivor. God, he looks really cool. Grizzled and rough. Very cool. Oh, the Wanderer. Maybe actually this could be the Mad Max kind of guy, or the Lone Wanderer in any Fallout game. Cool. Anytime they get the unattached. Anytime anyone tries to persuade you or intimidate you or threaten you, they have disadvantage. That's cool. You ain't scared of nothing. And you're also can't be played. That's kind of cool. And then there's the crazy. That's cool. Reminds me of Riffs. Uh, the crazy. How that's pretty neat. Oh, look at that! Look at that! All those guns. That's cool. There's the fixer. Of course, you got to have some kind of engineer class. That's kind of cool. Then there is the tyrant, Ugly Joe, or the Immortal Joe, or whatever it is from Mad Max. Uh, that's cool. You can literally be the bad guy. I guess, if you kind of think about it in a philosophical level, there is no good or bad in post-apocalyptic society has collapsed, and you know, law is just a construct that we make up. So theoretically, could become a dictator and lead a group of Chrome boys or something like that. Anyways, traits. This is what I really like about Tiny D6. Is we have all these traits, and there are additional traits with each additional system setting. And the cool thing is, I can take something from, let's say, Tiny Dungeons, and it can be applied to, Tiny Wasteland or Tiny Frontier. So that's kind of cool. I do like that. Stuff can be taken from different games and inserted into different games. But that's really kind of why you buy these games, because the system's really easy. You're just buying traits, really, and supporting somebody. Look at that. That's cool. Anyways, I could spend hours just kind of going through this, and that would not be a very fun video. So I'm going to just go down. There's a lot of traits. Now, magic in this thing is they have psionics, which is pretty dope. Let's be real here. Who doesn't want to be a psionic character of some sort? So that's the kind of quote-unquote magic they get. Yeah. And so here's some mutations. Okay. That's cool. When you fail an evade test, you may retest. That's kind of cool. Now, regular characters can only have one mutation, except if you're a mutant, you get to have tree location, or mutations, not locations. Wow. A third eye. That's cool. Psionic disciplines. So there's telekinesis, telepathy, biomancy. That sounds gnarly. And then cryomancy, Sub-Zero, and then pyromancy. Let's let stuff burn. Cool. This does give me some like Rifts vibes with some of the powers and magic and stuff. Savage World Rifts. I haven't played the Palladium Rifts. This is kind of a do and don't like about the system. So in this game, everything does 1 point of damage, no matter if it's an axe or a railgun. It's still 1 point of damage. I'm probably going to change that in the game where you get the roll for damage, and it'll probably just be a 5 or 6 you hit, and then you roll a d6 for damage and see where it's at. I did play with kiddos, and that was really easy. Just everything was just 1. But I think for adults, that extra roll would be kind of fun. Plus health in this game, there's really not a lot. Like the monsters wise and stuff, they don't have a lot of health. But I still think I am going to incorporate that, because then I can throw multiple things at people, and they can blow them up to their heart's content, because that's freaking cool. Of course, there's going to be items, roleplay materials is what I call them, dungeoneering materials as well. You go into an abandoned sewer. Oh wait, you have no lights. Oh, good thing you packed your lantern or your lighter or whatever, so you can kind of see. And you come across a chest. Oh, can't open it, but you can use that crowbar, which is kind of cool. What I dislike about current D&D is there's really no need for those things, as everybody can pretty much do everything. So equipment is kind of put off to the wayside or neglected by DMs. And that's something I do like. I do like utilizing inventory and being prepared for your journey. And you never know when you might need that grappling hook or that chemistry set or whatever it is, two-way radio. It doesn't matter, but you'll never know. And I like utilizing those things. I think that's a neat system. Of course, it does have item tracking, which I'm totally cool with. Again, because I want to. It's a resource management, man. Like, if you think about it, like part of our everyday existence in life is we're, as a survivor, we could be fighting hordes of mutants or zombies or rats or whatever, but we're also foraging and scavenging and salvaging items, and um, that might take some time. We might have to travel to another city or whatever to get water, and if we don't have a tent, how are you going to sleep and recoup? Like, all those things are taken care of with item tracking and item management, because it is a resource. And how well would you really fare in the desert if you don't have protective clothing or water? I mean, let's be real here. You're not going to last long. There's a cool game master session or section. I apologize. I will read this. Like I said, I just got this PDF as of today, so I just really wanted to kind of go through it with my first impressions. So I won't skip that because, like I said, this is kind of for my players as well. But here's what I was talking about a little bit about the HP in this game is not really it's not a D&D comparison. Fodder is 1 hit point, and anything like a big solo monster or a city leveling machine or whatever, it's 15 plus. But you can see that's their HP kind of gauge. So when designing something, you can be like, well, I kind of want them to have some kind of medium threat. It could be a group of raiders, whatever. Okay, so every raider has 3 to 5 hit points. Okay, cool. And honestly, I would do like 4 or 5 groups and just do pools of 5, so that'd be 15. You know, if I did 3 groups, that'd be 15 HP for these numerous, raiders that are, banded together to go against other people that are not their own, like a gang. Anyways, look at this artwork. This artwork's really cool. I like that. I dig it. She has this mutation going on. I like the gauges. I'm partial because I have gauges too. But anyways, yeah. It has rules about scavenging items. And there's pre-fallout, which is like pre-fallout clothing. These things are like amazing, like sweatpants. Like, yeah, you would think like we take these things for granted now, but if it was post-apocalyptic, it would be really nice to have sweatpants or slippers to walk around your camp with, something like that, right? Flannel shirts, of course, we gotta have our flannel. But anyways, there's pre-fallout clothing, kind of like really cool things you can do with your player characters. And there's sporting goods. Like, all these things are covered, which is kind of cool. I'm really interested in them scavenging in a supermarket because that'd be cool to barter. I'll trade you two bags of dried bananas for that 9mm or for that package of ammo. Like, that's cool. So it just kind of goes through VHS. If y'all guys know what VHS is, that's from a time ago. That is antiquated technology. Even DVDs and Blu-ray are antiquated now, and CDs, but that's just funny. Microfiche, that's also very antiquated as well. Wow. Anyways, so it kind of breaks down the different shops and stuff, which I'm not going to go through them all, but you can see there's some neat things. Of course, you gotta have a vehicle. That's the kind of, if you're doing like a Mad Max post-apocalyptic thing, you gotta have your car. So the player characters actually get to design a vehicle, and the vehicle has their own kind of rules, like 4 hit points with the driver plus 1 other if you're using a motorcycle. Anyways, they have motorcycle, they have a sedan, a muscle car, a truck, a BFV. Big freaking vehicle. This just screams Mad Max. Of course, you gotta have equipment on your vehicle. So these are just some samples. This is the Enclave. This is the settlement. This is what I was really interested about. So there's a whole mechanic involved with traits. So there's stats to it, um, and I just want to kind of go over this. So there's a population tool, a defense tool, a storage and fuel, food and insanity. When you first build your enclave, you start with the following enclave abilities: 3 people, 1 population, 2. Okay, cool. So it looks like with the enclave deck that you have, it's going to target the enclave or settlement specifically, and these things will happen, and that could lead to potential adventures. That's pretty neat. Of course, there's going to be management. So I mean, we play these games for that escapism, and how we actually manage the company. There's still accounting involved in the future, guys. But that's really cool. It reminds me a little bit of Weird on the Waves, um, ship management and crew management. Cool. I'm excited to run it. You can add stuff to your enclave, different buildings like a place of worship and barrack of some sort. You gotta have a distillery at an enclave. Like that's the whole point in a silo. But that's really cool. Anyways, these are some sample enemies: a guard, a giant snake, a giant spider. Of course, they're mutated, right? Look at these night reavers. They look awesome. Oh, and they have some mutations going on. Oh man, I'm just excited that I get to draw from a lot of a lot of my influences, a lot of my guilty pleasures like Fallout and Mad Max. Like those are my playing those games and those movies are what I do if I just don't want to blah today. I just want to watch what the world could be like. Cool. Of course, they have animal companions because why not? Anyways, here's some of the micro settings. So that was all the core stuff, and this is the second part of the book. And these are just kind of ways to kind of get your brain going. They could be great for one shots or stuff like that, or small little game sessions. I'm not going to go through all of them because I want you to buy the book and support Alan Barr. But yeah, as far as everything, man, I think it's a cool system. I'm a big fan of post-apocalyptic stuff, so um, I think this is gonna be a neat little easy system to run. Rules light. That's the games I like to run. As a player, I like to play very crunchy games. I don't know why that is, but that is my little preview of Tiny Wasteland. So, hope you have a great rest of the day, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more reviews, comments about the tabletop role playing games and hobby. Talk to you soon. Bye.